Hello again. Before I go any further, I need to make it clear that I do not want any sniggering about the almost unbelievable fact that David Lammy was at one time this country's Minister of Higher Education. Just because a man has difficulty in remembering his left from his right and sometimes needs help doing up his shoelaces doesn't mean that he shouldn't be in the running for posts like that, or indeed for the job of Foreign Secretary or Lord Chancellor. I mentioned that Lammy was Foreign Secretary not because I am playing for cheap laughs, but rather because it has a bearing on his fitness to take over running the country should Keir Starmer resign. Some viewers may perhaps have forgotten that David Lammy was appointed Deputy Prime Minister in September. I mean, whatever we might think about his intellectual ability, or rather the lack of it, he probably could not make a worse job of running the United Kingdom than the present incumbent. I mentioned that Lammy was Foreign Secretary last year because, of course, being in that post means that he had a hand in the appointment of Peter Mandeslon as our ambassador to Washington. You see, he and the so-called Prince of Darkness were old chums, and it would have been quite natural for him to have wanted his old boss and mentor to be given such a plum role. Old boss, did I say? And mentor? Why, yes. I mentioned that David Lammy was Minister of Higher Education in Gordon Brown's administration. His post was that of Junior Minister in the Department for Business, Enterprise and Regulatory Reform. Who was Secretary of State for that department? Hmm, that's right, it was Peter Mandelson. As a young MP in his mid-30s, Lammy was by all accounts dazzled by Peter Mandelson and thought him great. I mention all this not to rake up old history, but rather to remind people that Mandelson's influence extended far and wide. Wes Streeting, the MP for Ilford, is being touted as the front runner in the stakes for the next Prime Minister if Starmer resigns. But he was also a leading member of Peter Mandelson's fan club. Mandelson came to Ilford to campaign on behalf of Streeting in 2015 when he first stood for Parliament and was photographed with Streeting and with his arm around Wes Streeting's mother. They were thick as thieves in those days. Until yesterday, these photographs were on Wes Streeting's website, but now they have mysteriously vanished. It will be difficult for Labour to come up with anybody who wasn't contaminated by Mandelson. Seriously, just meet somebody whose nickname is the Prince of Darkness and not ask yourself why he's known in that way.